All right, so we talked about Mr. Ribeye here, standing rib roast. A lot of times if you ask for a standing rib roast, the price is less than if you bought a ribeye per se.
All right, and tell them what you did. You cut that in half, so we have two.
So let's think about this. So remember, we said $7.99. Sometimes if you find them a day or two, they go on sale even less than that.
They do.
So let's figure this one at about $7.50 per pound. Okay, this is 3 pounds. We cut it, measured it, weighed it. There's a reason we have to do that because of the time it takes to cook.
Right.
Now, we're gonna try today to show you how to do this in an oven where there's no searing involved. We're gonna get a sear on this with just the oven. Now, the most important thing is the au jus.
That's right.
Now, the French au jus means with juice, basically. But what we're doing today is an au jus that I know Raul would be happy with.
I tasted it, it's good.
Yes. So everything that we think about this, let's talk about the science of this. Okay, this thing's gonna go in the oven. Now, here's the rule for this, and this works every time without fail. If you want to put a meat thermometer in and make sure you get it just where you want it, we want it on the rare side. So what I'm going to do with this piece of meat, basically, is put it at almost 500 degrees. I put it at 490. This is just me.
Okay.
This is the way that we do it a lot. So I'm going to put this in at 490. So what does that do? That gets us that sear, and we'll try to get some shots through that oven. This fat starts to kind of scrunch up, and it will, as that sears, that fat starts to instantly draw up, and those juices, that au jus, will end up with whatever you put in there. The star of this show, we made the bread just for the au jus, and the potatoes just for the au jus.
That's right.
And the meat is just going to be dipped into the au jus.
That's all we want, au jus.
So what are we going to do? First of all, we're going to set this out and let it get room temperature. A couple hours. Make sure it's room temperature. You don't want to have to put that in the oven and it not be the temperature you want. Make sure room temperature first. When you get a French dip, what do you get with it?
Au jus.
Or jus.
Yes.
Either one.
Jus,
a lot of times the Americans call it jus. A lot of times that's processed without the meat that you're even eating on the sandwich.
And it's not as good.
And you can tell it's processed. You can tell that they've used dried onions and so on and so forth. When you use fresh ingredients,
delish.
It's magic. Everything that I put on this is going to end up in here.
In the juice.
And that's my thought process. When that fat starts to render out and it goes into here, I want it to have certain tastes that go along with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little Worcestershire here. Worcestershire. I'm going to mix that in some Dijon. Now, one thing, as we have traveled the world and tried different recipes, different places, the best prime rib that I ever got was really heavy. And you think rosemary, and we have some rosemary, but it's thyme.
Oh, yeah.
Some really good thyme. So what else do I want to do with that?
Thyme.
I'm going to put some ground thyme because the end product, again, is the au jus. So Worcestershire sauce, as the English say.
Worcestershire.
Dijon, ground thyme. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to lightly brush it. Now what I have found is over time, as I have experimented and watched, later I'm going to put butter on top of this with horseradish.
Oh, that won't be good, huh?
So as the butter almost immediately melts, and Raul, my French chef buddy, something that I noticed, he puts butter in almost everything. The butter will immediately melt off, but this layer of the Dijon, which I'm using to hold the salt and the pepper, it kind of stays there.
It smells
good.
good.
The butter, oh, doesn't it though?
It always smells good.
I mean, okay, for my au jus, I want to have some Dijon in there. So there's where we get started. Now you want some quality salt and quality pepper. So we're gonna liberally put some pepper on there. Now that will really make that hold on to that. I'm pretty liberal with the salt and the pepper, but I want that flavor in there. And again, that's helping flavor our au jus. Now some people might say, well, you're adding a lot of flavors. Well, the depth of flavor in this, when everything is together, we sat down last night experimenting.
We did.
And it was just, we almost couldn't stop eating.
I ate it like soup.
And again, cheaper than going to a
is.
fast food restaurant. All right, so now we're gonna take horseradish. I'm gonna mix up.
Room temperature butter.
Yep, in that butter. So that's about 1/3 of a stick. Now one more thing that I'm gonna do here, I'm that in love with that thyme flavor in my prime rib. I'm gonna put that in there. I'm gonna see if I can get that on there, that brush, see if it's melted off. Now what's going to happen when that butter gets in that hot oven, which just told me it's almost to the right temperature, that's going to almost immediately melt off. But it's going to go down the sides of that meat, and enough is going to stay. Enough is going to stay on there, so that taste is in that meat, and more importantly, it's in the au jus.
I love it.
So now, as this sits here and looks beautiful, we're going to come in and we're going to do just enough to raise to this rack. So this is, let's see how much is in here. This is beef broth.
Yummy.
It's probably a cup and a half, and a quality red wine, one that you would drink. Remember that if you're going to use, and that is just about
perfect.
there. So, what are we going to add to this for flavor? Well, even more thyme and some fresh rosemary. So we're going to take some butcher's twine and we're going to tie this together. Now I am so happy and infatuated with my au jus that when we get this done, we've added our bouquet garni.
That's right.
This, when it sets in that oven at 490 degrees, the first 15 minutes, this begins to boil. All those flavors are going to be imparted into that au jus. One more thing that we need is a shallot. This is important. You can use garlic if you like, but I really like a shallot in this. And I think Raul would back me up on this. We're going to cut very thin slices so all that flavor can seep out into this. We're going to take these thinly cut pieces of shallot, and I cannot stress how important it is for that beautiful shallot to be in there. So we have our red wine, we have our beef broth, we have our thyme and rosemary, we have our shallot, and I'm going to add, for just a little flavor and depth and a little more salt. Again, this is going to boil and this is going to cook down together. There's just a little beef bouillon.
Yummy.
We're going to put probably, I don't know, half of a tablespoon.
That's it.
Then I'm going to put just a little more Worcester sauce in there.
Yummy.
And then, a la Raul, currant jelly.
Gotta
What
have
does that
currant
do?
jelly.
It's not real sweet, but it adds that special thing. And I know Raul would put red currant jelly in his au jus. So now, as our oven is preheating, I'm going to take this beautiful 3-pound prime rib.
Wow.
Now let's think about this. Fast food joint, $32.74.
That's right.
This is
$22?
$22.50.
That's a deal.
This would probably feed 3 people.
It would.
But you and I are going to put
Actually, this will feed
damage
you. I'll have a bite with you.
I can eat a lot
I
of
know
this.
you could eat this.
So look how beautiful that looks.
That is.
Remember this. Now, depending on how you like your steak or your prime rib, we like ours rare. So at the rare rate, we're going to come down after the 15 minutes at 490. We're going to come down, and you can do 325 or you can do 300. Put you a meat thermometer in for your temperature if you want it to be particular. But if you like it close to the rare, let's go 11 minutes per pound.
Okay.
So after that initial 15 minutes, when everything starts to brown up, we turn the oven down to 325, and then we let that go for about 33 minutes.
And we're good.
When you take it out, you wrap it in aluminum foil, you let it rest for about 10-15 minutes, and then watch what we've got. When that happens, then we will take our au jus out, and we will take that and we'll do a little sifting. And I like to thicken mine up just a little bit.
You do. It makes it good.
Oh, I'm so excited. And we had this last night,
We did.
practicing for
We
you
did.
guys. Now, the next question you're going to probably ask, is that uncovered or open?
Is it uncovered? Or
Bread's
open? Sorry.
closed. This is open. We want
right.
that heat on top. We want to watch that butter melt. We want to watch that top brown up. So doing it this way, you don't have to sear anything.
Right.
It's a natural process. All the juices go into the pan for the au jus. Everything's done in the pan. That butter's going to start to melt. We got 15 minutes, top open. Now, watch that top. Watch that butter just melt right on off. All right, we got 1 more minute, and then we're going to turn it down to 325. Remember, it stays open the whole time. And what we're going to do, we're going to pull this out, and we're going to let it rest in some aluminum foil. Look at that.
Yum.
Oh, and the smell. Look at that. Look at that. Look
Beautiful.
at that. I'll tell you what we'll do real quick. Let's see, we've got a strainer in here, and we're just going to pour our juice off right in here. There's our lovely, beautiful au jus, and we don't want to waste any of that. And what happens too, if we have some of this left over, we freeze it. I've found that if you use it within 6 months, it stays in pretty good shape. All right, now I've tasted that and it's where it needs to be. At this point, if you want to add anything, if you say, okay, we need a little pepper or whatever, you can add what you need. But if you do that, kind of like we did it, you're going to be in really good shape. At the very end here, just because it holds on the meat a little bit better, we're going to take a cornstarch and beef broth slurry, and we're just going to put in here and thicken that up just a little bit. Keep going. And that ought to do it. This becomes gravy-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Farmer would drink this.
I would. I like my gravy.
Okay, now look at our au jus.
Yum.
This to me really...
That was good. Perfect.
That's just a beautiful thing. Oh, my. I tell you what, we're going to do just a little bit of cleaning up. We're going to open up this meat. We're going to cut it, slice it, put it on the plate, and you're going to see something beautiful here in just a moment. Hi, Mrs. Farmer.
Wow.
Are you excited?
Can I do some dipping?
Yep. I do horseradish, then au jus.
Wow. That is amazing.
This is probably 2 nights of dinner. So $22, $23, maybe $24 if you include the flour and everything.
Bread was nothing.
Bread was nothing.
Potatoes nothing.
So we're going to eat $11 per night if you split it up, as opposed to $30
Eating like kings.
fast food.